Hello, hello. I love the music. This is me, Guillaume. I'm here with Amy Caldoun, quantitative researcher. Okay, they allow us to have subtitles now, but
Yeah.
uh, I'm Guillaume here with Amy. This is Beyond the Greeks, the weekly research show that we're doing here with the Panoptic team. Today, we're going to talk about pricing perpetual options from first principles. I'm very excited about this research piece. But yeah, first of all, how are you doing today, Amy?
Hi everyone. Very well. Very hot today. It's actually the hottest so far in Paris. But
What's
there's no
the where's that?
there's no locals. There's only like tourists now. Every
Oh,
French person is somewhere
I
else.
know. I mean, I was on vacation the past 2 weeks too. I'm a bit more European, so again, I like my to spend some time off. But of course, DeFi and the world never stop turning. But yes, when you go to, we went in Paris one day in August, and it was dead. Everything was closed.
Everything.
Nothing happened.
I know.
Um, they
I don't
keep
even,
the Eiffel Tower open, I guess, but
yeah, at least that. I don't even know why tourists come during this time. I mean, it's pretty known that French
wait,
people they took like the whole August for
but
themselves.
where do they go? Where are the French people going though?
So I think there are a lot of youngsters. They go to like Croatia, Greece, islands in general. Malta, it's pretty popular as well for like an August trip. And families, they usually have like a house in Normandy, like in the north or in the south
Oh, it's
somewhere. So
yes,
yeah, they
or
like to be
yes,
there. Yeah, and
the French life. So yes, in the US, no one takes any vacation for any reason whatsoever. Uh, but again, the different trade offs. But yeah, it's second week of August. We have a few more weeks of respite before the tourists leave. But yes, otherwise, yeah, we'll go to a present. Sorry, I didn't upload this. Yes, you
yeah,
have a presentation for us. Pricing perpetual options is something that we get a lot of questions about. It's a
yeah.
new instrument. It's not something that you can find in a textbook. The math itself is constrained almost by the blockchain. So a lot of it is pure research at the forefront. You spent a lot of time over the past week to create a piece. Excited to see this.
Yeah,
Uh,
for sure.
Pricing, yes, for sure. Pricing different pricing models for perpetual options.
Yeah. So there's no book about it for now. Maybe it would work. We would write one. You never know. Maybe that could be a goal. It's actually one of my goals to write a book about like the crypto and math all together. So maybe one day. Today we have a presentation that's a little bit spicy. Meaning there's some math, but bear with me. The math, even if it's kind of heavy, I will also make sure that I explain it in a way that will be kind of digestible, without needing like the knowledge of probability theory or any type of that mental torture that I had for the past few years in uni. So what's the motive here? Obviously, the motive is in the title. It's price and perpetual options, which is something that we don't trade in TradFi. And since it expires by removing that expiration date in the math model, in the black shows, these models, they kind of break in a way. So we would need to come up with some kind of innovation in order to force that pricing in a way or in another. So what I did is that um, I just like went in a rabbit hole, the internet, searching for every possible paper that had been written about this topic. There were definitely some interesting ones, others that would require me to stay up at still 4 a.m. to be able to understand it. Because if I stop and then I sleep, then I would just wake up the next morning and would have to read everything from scratch.
Sounds
Definitely.
like grad school to me. Uh,
Yeah, I know. Sounds like PhD also. But yeah, so it was fun. I mean, for me, it was fun. I love this. I love this so much. And there's some creativity that comes with it as well that we're gonna see eventually. And I'm also curious about your favorite model that you would see so far, Guillaume. And maybe we would have the same. I think we would have the same, but not sure. Let's see.
Let's see.
So we're gonna see four models, three new models from academia, and our models, Panoptic one, obviously, just to be able, to compare all of them and see like the differences and similarities and what works, what doesn't work, what's the solution that Panoptic came up with that would resolve, any problems that these academic pricing models that like this new academic pricing models that they came up with. So yeah, the first one is going to be Paradigm, which is one of the earliest attempts to formalize perpetual options in the crypto space. And the second one is by a guy named Sidani. There's other guys, but I just like his name and I put it there. If you need any more paper, any more info, we have a bite about it, and I'll be glad like to send away links everywhere, just like for you to see more details about this. So yeah, feel free to reach out. And the third one is about American option. It's something that we don't necessarily talk about because we're very much into European, but not necessarily American. We don't hear about them much in the space. But yeah, so that's also another model that I'm gonna talk about. And finally, the Panoptic one, the streaming pricing model. So yeah, next slide. Thank you. So yeah, let's start with paradigm model. By the way, I hope you hear me, guys, in the cafe, attempting, just like to have some kind of AC somewhere because in France we don't have AC. I don't know why, but it's fine. So yeah, so as I said, the paradigm model is one of the earliest attempts for to formalize perpetual options in crypto. It's essentially like an elegant way to port Black-Scholes logic into a format that never expires. So here, what is the core idea? The core idea is simply to like replicate the exposure of a traditional option, but without ever setting an expiry date. So how it works. There's like three ways, three processes. So the first, you price a short-dated European option, let's say like 1 day maturity, using the Black-Scholes model, obviously, and that gives you like the theoretical value. Here we call it BSM, Black-Scholes margin, and you can think of this price as your anchor price. And the second thing it would be instead of paying that option up front, the buyer pays for it continuously by streaming the Black-Scholes data, which is the rate at which the option loses value over time. And third, the funding payment per unit time is exactly that data. So it seems like a little bit simple, but in the real world, we all know that market prices they kind of drifts away from theory. I mean, obviously. So paradigm here, they kind of in the paper they kind of borrow from perpetual futures and introduce a funding mechanism. So meaning that if the market price is above uh, the model price, then short positions they pay longs, and if it's below, longs pay shorts. So this way, this kind of keeps the market price a little bit tethered to the BSM, our anchor price, while allowing positions to kind of stay forever, perpetual, right? So yeah, in practice, it's like kind of renting an option, and you just pay incrementally to keep it alive. And as long as you keep funding it, you hold the exposure indefinitely. But if you stop paying, then or like for instance, if you run out of margin, then you liquidate it. So it's basically just like what happens in perps. And yeah, so here the key advantages they're definitely just like the pricing familiarity because I mean BlackRock has been around since the 70s, and also the risk symmetry. And another thing is that this kind of maps closely to centralized derivatives infrastructure, and this design assumes that there is an accurate oracle for spot and volatility, a reliable mark pricing, and obviously an off-chain computation for this BSM values. And here, for instance, if the oracle breaks or if the vol is kind of misestimated, then the model kind of breaks down, which is not very convenient in this case. But yeah, so all in all, Paradigm offers like a continuous time version of option exposure, and here the funding replaces the expiry, and the data becomes the cost of holding. And yeah, it's basically just a model that extends perpetual futures mechanics to options. And yeah, no, also funny fact, this paper has also been co-authored by Sam Bankman-Fried on the side of Fried.
I'm sure he's listening to us right now from jail.
So if you're
Uh,
listening to us, hi.
no, yeah, I think the ideas behind this morphed into Squeeth a little bit, which was another paradigm portfolio. But I do agree that the that construct works well, but the difficult thing to get is the volatility oracle. It's a surface,
Exactly.
there's many components, and often when you are far out of the money or like away from the current price, the volatility changes. So yes, I would say that there's probably a few things that are a bit more difficult to get if you don't have a mature
Yeah,
options market to support it.
exactly. But it's interesting. I mean, it's an interesting way too, because I mean, at least for me personally, like my personal experience, even with Panoptic, like when I read the white paper for the first time ever, before even landing a job here, my first thought was like trying to force the Black Scholes formula. Like I have to try, like it's there, and even if there's no expiry, I have to remove it and see if it's gonna work, and if I can come up with something else. So yeah, it just makes sense that one of uh, the earliest models for pricing control options, they would just try to extend the Black-Scholes formula to some extent, basically. So yeah, makes sense. Okay, moving to the next one. I think Guillaume already knows about this.
Actually, I
Obviously,
don't know much. Yeah, this
no,
is
no, not
one
this
that.
one. The
Oh,
previous one.
yes, that's right. This one I haven't seen
Yeah,
before, and then I had a quick look. So it's very, very interesting. But yeah, I'll let
yes.
you. Yep.
All right. So yeah, so this one is kind of interesting as well. It's called this. I call it the Sidani model. I don't want to add everybody because otherwise it's going to be very messy. Nobody's going to remember it, obviously. So Sidani seems fun and like something that you would remember, right? So yeah, it's a Sidani model. Um, so here, in my opinion, it's like this model is a clever probabilistic twist on perpetual options, and it starts with a simple question, which is, what if we don't remove expiry, but we just make it random? And here's the idea. So instead of one option that never expires, imagine like a blend of standard European options, each with a different expiry, drawn from a known probability distribution. Here we have like the common sources is either geometric, which is a discrete one, or the exponential, which is a continuous one. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, it's not gibberish. It's actually so geometric distribution. If I had to explain it very like I'm five, as they say, you basically it's like you're flipping a coin over and over, and you want to know how many flips until you get the first heads, let's say. So the probability here, it's basically what it tells you. It's basically the first success that happens on trial one or trial two or trial three, etc. And this is like the discrete, meaning that you're counting things. Whereas in the exponential distribution, it's the continuous version of it. And here usually we measure time. And the story here would be like the common story, I would say. I'm just like copying and pasting it from what I remember from my teacher. So you're waiting for a bus that comes at a fixed average rate. I don't know why it's always a bus, but yeah. So you're waiting for a bus that comes at a fixed average rate, and you want to know like how long until the next bus arrives. So here, what it basically tells you is that the probability of waiting um, exactly like some amount of time for the first event that's gonna happen. So yeah, it's kind of the same mechanism, but it's one geometric. It's more for like counting. It's like discrete. You have one, two, three, four. Whereas in the exponential one, it's more like continuous. You cannot count. Like you're taking into account everything between 0 to 1, right? It's not 0 and 1. It's everything in between.
Yeah, and I used to teach this in my class when I was at
Oh
Cornell, which is the Poisson distribution
yeah.
is the discreteness, and you can apply this to uh, radioactive events, molecules being produced by a
Oh yeah.
cell,
I did
and the
biology.
time between these is this exponential. One thing that could be easier also for the listeners that when you have proof of work mining, it's a similar process, which is you have to mine, find the nonce that creates the next block, and it is also
Yeah.
exponentially distributed because you do some work and the probability of finding it is somewhat random. But then the time between each successful blocks mined back in the Ethereum days meant that you have a very funny looking block distribution, but it was somewhat uneven, but the average was well defined. You still have this in block in Bitcoin, but it's a similar thing. You can imagine that you mine a block, you don't know when the next one's going to happen. Sometimes it takes a long time, sometimes it's very short. These options probably expire in a similar system. You some random process means you have a probability of expiring, don't know how, but it happens in a time interval that can be quantified.
Exactly. That's even better. I love that. I'm gonna steal that from now on.
Yeah,
Uh,
the I love the Poisson process. It's very the Poisson. They're very universal. You
I
can
know.
use this in sports. You can use this
Yes.
in astronomy. There's a lot of things you can use it for.
Yeah.
It's very great.
Crazy. Yeah. That's another topic, and we can talk about it. Just like it's gonna be like we're gonna finish at 8 p.m. here. Maybe later. So yeah. So yeah, unlike Paradigm, which kind of kills expiry and charges data, here we have with Sudani, we keep expiry, but we kind of just randomize it. So mathematically, what happens? First, you pick a random expiry t from the distribution, either geometric or exponential. And second, you price the option with Black-Scholes for that same expiry, and third, you take the expected value over all possible t's using that formula that you see. So in discrete time, it's a weighted sum, and in continuous time, it's an integral. And this also makes sense because in integral, you take into account whatever happens between, for example, 0 and 1. And with weighted sum, it's just 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's like a natural numbers. You're counting natural numbers. So yeah, it's the same thing. It's just like mathematically, it depends where what we're talking about. Is it discrete or is it continuous? That's it. But it's in the essence, we're doing the same calculation. So don't be afraid when you see like an integral. And by integral, I mean the S sign that's very enlarged. And yeah, so like sometimes I don't know if everything that I'm saying is makes sense because like I'm so used to this that
No, yeah, this is. I mean, like junior level. Maybe if you take a probability class, so it is somewhat advanced, but it's somewhat straightforward if you've been through the curriculum. But yeah, no, this and then do they derive the exact formula, at least an expression that's close for that, or they just end with that expected uh,
uh,
integral?
there's a derivation. There's like
Okay,
many things, yeah, happening before. I'm try
but
I,
yeah,
I
this
I
is.
couldn't put it there. I'll send you
But this
the
is, oh yeah, it could be also an undergrad, like a homework question almost. It's just kind of,
yeah,
but yeah, it's actually very. I've never seen, but yeah, this is very cool.
yeah, it is cool. And so yeah, so here what are the key insights. So first thing, shorter expires dominant rates the price, so they're more probable and less discounted. So this is like it isn't perpetual in the contract form, but perpetual more in expectation. So you never actually hold one option forever. Instead, you hold like a rolling probabilistic blend of short-dated options that are refreshing automatically as some expire. So there's no funding rate here. Instead, you have two things. You have the distribution shape, which is the lambda, which controls how much short-term versus long-term risk is priced. And the second thing, which is the discount factor, the little delta, that plays a role like cost of capital. So basically, if there's like a higher theta, it means that we're putting more weight on long expiries, and there's like a lower theta. There's like heavier focus on um, near-term, short-dated options. So here the choice between long-dated versus short-dated options dominating. In this case, it just comes down to what kind of like risk exposure and market behavior you want the perpetual option to mimic. So, for example, for long dated, it is more suitable for hedging, like for smoother P&L, whereas the short dated is more for speculation, higher leverage effects, etc. So yeah, it depends on the person who's who's creating this blend of options. And yeah, so here obviously it works with standard black scholes. Uh, not not again.
Yes, sorry.
Our CEO is very much in hurry. He want to know everything. So yeah, so here it still works with black scholes, and it can also be analytically or via can be done analytically or via like Monte Carlo by sampling these expiries. So these for people who actually know the math behind it. And yeah, and let's move now to the next one.
Yep. Next
Okay,
one.
so yeah, so the perpetual American option. What's an American option? Why do we care? And these are the questions, right? When you start reading this. So yeah, so an American option, what is it? It's the same as a standard European option, except you can exercise it even before the expiry. And that makes the perpetuity aspect kind of like intuitively a little bit easier to manage because you have all this time up until expiry to do whatever you want with the option, which is not necessarily something that you have in European option because you're waiting your payoff is at expiry and not before. Whether you want to exercise the option or not. So yeah, so in a European option, even if you make it perpetual, you still have to model its value over time until some payoff event, which is kind of tricky because time is infinite, but the payoff only comes as exercise. Whereas in the American option, you can exercise anytime. So in the perpetual case, there's no like explicit time left to maturity. And yes, perpetual option, the American options already exist already, but perpetual options they only exist in like a theoretical pricing object rather than like heavily traded market instrument. But yeah, it just makes sense to add it here among the pricing models because it's a little bit interesting. So yeah, now we can step away from like expiry-based options and look at perpetual American puts. For example, let's say a put, not a call, a put. I put it in the, I put the put in red. And just for you to understand that it's a put, it's not a call, it's not an option in general, it's a put. So yeah, so here this is a put option that never expires. I can be exercised at any time. So here in the setup, time disappears from the problem entirely. Instead, everything hinges on a critical asset price, which we call the RO, or RO, as the French say. Um, so here's how it works. If the spot price as is below the RO, it's optimal to exercise immediately. The value is just the intrinsic payoff, which is the E minus S.
Wait,
Usually,
but how is that row determined, I guess?
sorry?
Is it a strike or what is the meaning of row critical price?
It's just like the optimal. It's something that you can also decide on it eventually. It's just like a price at which you will decide. Okay, I want to exercise when I have when my assets is below or above this a price exactly, which is all basically. That's
Okay.
like just something that you decide or on your own. You know, you can price it. You can use some models for that or you just like do it because okay you're just assuming the price would go up or down and this is like when I can allow myself to like exercise it or this is how much money I can allow myself to lose and from there you just like engineer it and you get the whole so yeah just
Mm,
think of
okay.
like a career and So yeah, as I said, if S is above the O, it's better to hold the option because the continuation value is greater than immediate exercise. And on the other hand, here we the parameter gamma captures the trade-off between the risk-free rate R and the volatility sigma. So oh, and by the way, this whole setup is called the Merton setup. And yes, from the same guy who also contributed in the Black-Scholes model. So back in the 70s, he thought about this even before, and he put it in here on a section in his article that he published. And basically, what he did, he just took the Black-Scholes PD, the partial differential equation, for an American option, and he set the time derivative to zero because perpetual, right? So it means there's no expiry. And this turns the PDA into like a simpler ordinary differential equation with S as its only variable. And he solves this ODE with boundary conditions. And the results, I'm just like trying to like not give too many details because otherwise we're not gonna end here. But just trying to give like the general step by step the process of getting that formula. And the result is pretty much this closed form expression for the options value, which is in two regions. Um, the first region, which is the exercise region, like when S is uh, um, when the derivative is above the S, then the value is an intrinsic value, intrinsic payoff. And then the second region, which is the continuation region, which is when S is above the whole, then the value is just like a power. We call it like a power law decay in S. So in short, here a perpetual American put replaces a tick and expiry clock with like a trigger price. So that's like another thing that we can call the whole trigger price. You hold it until the market falls far enough to make exercising kind of optimal, or you can just wait forever if you want. So that's the closest traditional model that it is to something called an option and something called a perpetual option.
Yeah, there was some confusions every once in a while that people that know some information about options and they know about this model, and they think, oh, Panoptic is this model, and you think of this as pushing the expiry off to infinity or very far in the future, and you have
Yeah,
this steady state where there's no uh, time component to the Greeks. And then we always have to tell them, no, it's the reverse. You don't push the expiry to infinite time in the future. You push this very short, so it's a perpetually expiring
yeah,
option. And again, this is the next model, but it's that model has been in textbooks for decades, but it's a slightly different setup. Not in the future for Panoptic, but rather continuous, like a perp funding rate. You
yeah,
can think of like a perp is not a future that expires also years and years in the future. It's a perp that expires every hour. So it's a similar thing
yeah,
for perpetual. Well, I don't know if we're a victim of bad naming, but it's a perpetual option that is
I
not
know.
textbooks, but something different. But yes.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, so that's you missed so much in a hurry. I wanted to ask you a question before, which is, what do you think of, based on this, what do you think of like a perpetual American call? Because that was like one question that I asked myself. I was like,
I mean,
why is
puts and
Merton?
calls are very, very similar. You have the put call parity that works where you can kind of take like a put. I mean, I don't know if I'm in mirror now, but the put has a payoff that looks like this. But if you take a put and then go long with it, you have a call. Uh, what we've discovered as well with Panoptic, and it's known in the currency world, but not as much in the equity world, but a put in one asset is exactly the same thing as a call in the reverse asset. So in currencies, you have euros to US dollar or US dollar to euros. You can flip them very easily. You know, you never do how much is $1 worth of Tesla versus so you always flip, but in currency is very known. So you could also have a perpetual put, but is the reverse, which is uh how the price of US dollars in terms of Tesla stocks, for instance. You could also have this construct, but yeah, I would say that the there is one like yeah the You would have one over E. Yeah, I don't know if the perpetual call makes a ton of sense, because I would say you could just hold it till it goes to infinity, and this is kind of
Yeah,
the end result. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, here for the American call, it's kind of like because I thought about it. I was like, look, why is he? As I said, sometimes I would just like sleep at 4 a.m. So because of these questions, so yeah, so for the call, apparently it just makes no sense because you can just like hold it forever without losing any value, basically. But what's interesting, it's when the underlying asset pays dividends. Then here you have a trade-off. So it makes the whole thing, it changes a little bit the game because um, when when your underlier pays a dividend like continuous dividend, there's a trade-off here. You hold the call, you delay that delays you from collecting dividends, and exercising early lets you own the asset and start receiving them. So here they will have like a critical price that's dependent on the dividends and how much you would like to collect, etc. Taking into account the whole market, obviously. So yeah, it's interesting with when it comes to coal and introducing the dividends.
No, yeah, it
Yeah,
makes a ton of
like
sense. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so we move to the final one. There's other two, but I didn't include them because, as I said, it's gonna be a very long presentation, and we don't want to lose the the people hearing us. So yeah, I'm just gonna stop to this one, to the panoptic one, and then feel free to reach out or like see our deep dive article about all of the relevant pieces model perpetual models that I found so far. So yeah, so now let's turn to the panoptic model, our famous model, the first, I would say, truly defined native perpetual option framework. So unlike the other models in the paper that I've written, Panoptic doesn't simulate or approximate an option. It kind of builds one directly from an on-chain mechanics using Uniswap v3 and v4 concentrated liquidity. So how it works, LP on Uniswap, either v3, v4, provides liquidity in a range. I call it LU, L for lower, U for upper. That range behaves like a short option position. The LP is only exposed when the price is inside the range. And a trader takes alongside paying a streaming premium, we call it a streamer, only when the price is inside the LP's range. So the longer the price stays near the strike, where theta is highest, the more the trader pays. So here the fee rate is basically collected block by block, it's like rolling an option block by block from Uniswap trading activity, where the price of the underlier asset stays within the option string tick range. So it is not computed from Black-Scholes as we've seen in the traditional models. Um, but in expectation, this premium converges to what Black-Scholes data would imply for the same position, meaning that based on our simulations, the this model actually converges towards the Black-Scholes one. And another thing that's different is that this model is inherently path dependent. The cost depends not only on the current price, but also on how long it lingers near the strike. So it has also no oracles, and we talked about oracles in the paradigm model. So all price data comes from directly like from Uniswap ticks. No expiries, obviously. This is like a real meaning of perpetual. It's not like we have a blend of something that expires and then when something expires, then automatically we get another one in the basket. This is like truly one option that doesn't expire, that can be held indefinitely. And there's no external computation. So here the protocol uses a live AMM automatic market making state to infer the value. And yeah, with Panoptic doesn't rely necessarily like on the paradigm funding rates or expiry simulations. Instead, it's just it's like what I came up lately when I talked about this to one of my friends. It's like an on-chain parking meter for optionality. And so yeah, in short, Panoptic isn't a pricing model. um, but it's more like an option protocol where the model actually comes from the trading activity of the Uniswap, which is our clearinghouse, which is pretty much Oracle free, perpetual, and uh, that doesn't need any external computations. And yeah, I don't know if you want to add something else
Yeah,
here
the
to.
one thing again, the one thing that happens is that if you're in range, you collect fees. It's a little bit like your theta decay, like for black shows. But the key point is that the fees you collect are based on real trades. If you want real swaps, real price moves. If it's an order book, you can the price can move without having any trades. But here on an AMM like Uniswap, you have to have a trade. You have to have someone pay a fee to move the price around, and the fees gets distributed to you. So you get paid a premium if you want based on realized volatility.
Exactly.
And this is a little bit how the distinction is. There's no oracle, no model, but the pricing is quite literally realized volatility. And if you know about options, there's always some difference between implied volatility and realized. And typically, there's a premium for implied, but here you would be buying options on realized, which is kind of uh, one thing that is a little bit easier to make money on if you have a realized volatility premium. Panoptic makes it so that the price will equilibrate to an IV that is different in realized. But yeah, the most literal the reason why it's actually quite simple and has less external dependencies is because it's basically price using realized trades and relatively. So the new the whatever sigma that you see here might be sigma realized in a weird
Mm,
way,
yeah,
uh, but still kind of in that formulation still can kind of behaves like black shows.
exactly. Yep. So yeah, so at the end of the day, when you take expiry away, oh, just repeat the rhyme without wanting it. So you open up kind of a completely new design space, but you also break the classical pricing models, which is good. Like it's good to break something that's very traditional. It comes up with. I sound like a little bit weird now, but I'm talking about math here. I'm not talking about anything else. So with when we have some new idea and doesn't work with the traditional models, then it's always a good thing that happens because that means that okay, it's time for to move on to something else, which is new, something else that's more innovative and more creative. And this is exactly what's happening now. So with Sudani's approach, um, imagines like a perpetual as a statistical, blend of many short-lived options, and a paradigm one which keeps the exposure alive by charging continuously for time decay, and then the perpetual American model says, okay, forget the calendar, just exercise when price hits the optimal point, and then they have panoptic, which flips the problem entirely by pulling the premium straight from an on-chain liquidity dynamics with no oracles, no expiry date, and fully composable. So yeah, each one solves the forever optionality puzzle in its own way, which is, I think, very creative and very exciting. So who knows what the next model would be, but yeah. So by the way, what's your favorite? Yeah,
Come on,
don't say
no, yeah,
panoptic.
yeah. I mean, it, the model describes what the AMM and Uniswap does. So it's also like almost we did not ask for perpetual options. So when people created AMMs, yeah, okay, let's choose a range and let's or even like full V2, like let's participate. But yeah, the instrument that is now kind of backed by billions of dollars worth of liquidity in Uniswap is a perpetual option. So we just kind of try to apply the best model to it. Sidanis and Paradigms did not have the LP position in mind when they created the model. So ours is quite
Yeah,
literally trying to describe this physical object with an LP position. Uh, and yeah, it has some interesting features that is again, it's like a scientific discovery process. We don't say, oh, this is how it
true.
works, and then we'll find the best model. It's just we
Yes,
just follow what we have in front of us and try to describe the best. So yeah, at least in terms of panoptics, perpetual options, our model to some extent in the white paper is the closest that we have to pricing them.
I know. I agree. I knew that you were gonna say that. So that's when I wanna ask actually, like except from Panoptic.
Oh, the Sidani is actually quite interesting.
Right?
The randomness nature. You see this a lot in physics, where everything is kind of random. Everything has some weird kind of model underlying it, but you can do a lot of these ensembles. If you do a lot of that, like, statistical
Yeah.
mechanics is like taking that simple, very very precise microscopic view and extracting the macroscopic quantities out of this. So Sidanis, again, we could probably see how it goes, but it's a very interesting. You take limits. If lambda goes to zero infinity, you can have like different regimes that are maybe now approaching this very short dated expiry versus something that is a little bit longer dated. But yeah, this
Yeah.
is also very cool. The yeah.
I like it. That's my favorite too, and I knew it would be your favorite because of the randomness. So yeah.
Yeah, we
Uh,
should also like even we could also make a slightly better systematically approaching Uniswap LP positions using that replicating portfolio of options,
yeah.
which is like what the industry standard is, could be also a an interesting path to go towards, because uh, we if you replicate it with regular options, it's a bit simpler to kind of understand this, because okay, this is the basket that I'm holding. I could even replicate this in my whatever Schwab account,
Mm,
and then that could be also some cool analysis we can do to say, hey, that LP position could be replicated with this interesting
yeah.
portfolio of options.
Yeah. But you know, here what's interesting with the randomness, because but also like one question that could be asked here is that okay, why should I make it random? Why can't I just control the expiry myself? Like I would choose the options myself and have the blend. But what's interesting is that by having like a a probability distribution, it's easier for you to like build in rebalancing because the sorry, someone dropped something, because you have only two parameters, which is the delta and the lambda. Whereas with if you do it yourself, then you have this infinite amount of parameters that you would need to monitor yourself in order to be able to do the rebalancing well, the hedging well, and just like control the whole basket on your own. So that's also like one thing that's very very interesting that comes from this randomness of the expiry. It just like makes the whole thing easier to like build automatically basically. So yeah.
Yeah, totally agree. Even the Black-Scholes model is so successful despite its flaws because it has one parameter that is uh, maybe complex on its own, but there's one thing you can change as opposed to two or three or five that makes it immensely more complicated. So yeah,
Yeah, for sure. All
very cool.
right.
That's it.
Oh,
That's the last thank you slide. There we go.
thank you guys for listening to us, to our
Yeah. Thanks. Okay, didn't know about this. Thanks a lot. Yeah, thanks, Amy. Hopefully, you'll survive that scorching heat
yeah,
in
without the
Paris.
AC.
But yes, this was great. Thanks a lot for that. We will have a
Thank you.
research bite that was going to be published out of that. Interesting. We have some people also on Twitter. Uh, I did not see this, but some people, we can take some time to to address this. Someone said it's a perpetual Canadian option. I don't know who this Brendan is. Uh, but then this is actually something we might be looking. I don't know about this, but there is a formula called the Tanaka formula that can you can use to express the streamer from the local time. So this is one of the things that, again, as we talk about this, this is what I like as well, from the from the different participants. Again, if you have ideas, Tanaka formula, this is interesting. We'll definitely look into it.
Yeah, it
Uh,
sounds fantastic sound for
so local time, if I remember, this is kind of the oh, maybe I don't know. Local time, I think in geometric Barnum motion or Barnum motion is how frequently you visit the same point, and at this point you can restart from scratch. If you go back to zero, and then okay, this is a new, and then you go back to zero, this is a new path. That could be interesting as well. We do see a
yeah,
similar thing with options and like perpetual options. You have this range. Even with Rosalie, every once in a while we'll say, "All right, we're back to where we started," so it's a fresh start. This is also something that could be interesting. But yeah, we'll definitely look at this Tanaka formula.
yeah.
Thanks, Mr. Perko Jazz. Uh,
Purple chats.
yes.
That's the name.
And then someone else also wanted it to be hello, Professor. Hello, Amy. Thanks, Ken. This was great. Again, this is research. If you have questions, I like this interaction in the chat. But if you have any questions, let us know.
Yeah,
Could be on
please
Discord, could be on Twitter.
search
Uh,
for them. Even if you
yes,
don't have questions, just stay and think about one.
yeah, prove us wrong. And yes, this is great. Thanks a lot, Amy. And then yeah, we'll do this. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.
This was great, and I guess I'll see you some people tomorrow. Otherwise, we'll see Nathan next week with a different research.